Press it on the board. Oh, okay. Press it on the board. Oh, okay.
Okay, welcome everyone to the 24th Health Teaching Workshop, and we'll begin with a video of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute promotional video.
Where does humanity go from here? What have we tried to do? What if there is more? Much more. The Keshe Foundation is proud to announce a new way to bring humanity forward through technology that brings humanity in line with the natural operation of the planet and universe itself. The new science and technology discovered and developed by the nuclear engineer Moran Keshe centers upon the use and control of magnetical gravitational fields. This new body of knowledge opens the road to hundreds of potential applications, which offer solutions to most of the fundamental problems of the world, such as water, food, environmental contamination, and shortages of energy. The Keshe Foundation is proud to unveil the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Nestled amidst the beautiful shores of Bari, Italy, the Institute is poised to become a central hub in the spreading of plasma technology and knowledge. With its state-of-the-art 21st century facilities, the Institute will be able to provide students and staff an immersive way to learn the plasma technology, to be the leaders of the new generation of scientists and plasma engineers. The Keshe Foundation has opened the door to the world for peaceful usage of technology that is independent of the limited resources that are available on Earth. This is an understanding of how everything works together in harmony in our universe, and it applies to everything from the smallest to the biggest, from atoms to galaxies. We all are able to collectively work together in pursuit of knowledge, innovation, and solutions for our society. This learning environment is new to the world, where there will be no test to confirm your understanding. The knowledge of everyone will be respected and allowed to flourish in a nurturing environment. Hands-on testing and experimenting will be widely used in conjunction with roundtable discussions to bring all opinions and knowledge forward. Students will be introduced to a change in the ethos of working in collaboration. Students will experience firsthand how we share knowledge in a free and open manner. Graduating students are expected to share the knowledge they gain from the university within their respective communities and nations. All formal teachings, lectures, and presentations will be in the English language, with technology available for immediate translation. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will be offering 3-year executive master programs for undergraduate degree students and 1-year executive master programs for graduate degree students in the following fields: space transportation, new plasma technology, health, agriculture, materials, energy. The health section is designed to make students able to live in space without the need to return to Earth. To this end, the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute has found processes for many diseases including ALS, cancer, coma, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will offer online teaching courses which will enable anyone, anywhere around the world to enroll and increase their knowledge and understanding. Students will have the opportunity to direct their work towards commercial spin-offs and seek funding through the help of the Keshe Foundation. The access to the new science and new technologies is openly available for peaceful use to the benefit of mankind to make a better world today. Now you can be part of the changing world and the new knowledge. All commercial spin-offs are intended to be open source and patent-free. This is part of the core ethos of the Keshe Foundation and the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will have its official inauguration on April 21st, 2015, with courses commencing soon after, on May 4th, 2015. The students of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will be the leaders of the future, who will make changes in all areas of space technology, science, medicine, agriculture, and energy. Anyone is able to apply, but acceptance is through invitation only. No prerequisites are required. We will be accepting approximately 250 students for the 3-year Executive Master's Program and 120 students for the 1-year Executive Master's Program. We welcome humanity's participation in the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Where does humanity go from here? That is up to you. Apply today.
Okay, that was our promo video for the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. And now we'll move into the gist of the 24th Health Teaching Workshop with Dr. Elia Kostova of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. And then we'll hear from Mr. Keshe at the second part of the show. So today's topic is the glands, regulators of subtle levels. Now, who knows what Miss Elia has in mind for us today, but I'm sure it'll be very interesting. Elia, are you there? Let me see if, let me make sure my preferences are set properly here. Yes, okay. Hello, Elia?
Yes, hello everybody. It's me, Elia, and nice to be with you and the 24th Keshe Foundation Health Workshop. Today's subject is the glands, like allures of the subtle levels. And we start with the first slide. The first slide I want to represent to you our sensor organs and how we pass by all the workshops and now we are aware of them. We have 5 sensor organs which they produce in us different kind of sense. We have eyes, we have ears, we have a taste, we have a smell, and we have a touch. All the sensitivity what we get from the fields and impulses and the matter of everything what surrounds us, we accept with our sensor organs. They produce in our matter state specific nervous impulse and interact with our control center. This is our brain. So how it's actually happen, everything of that in our human body. We have several regulation system in our body, and to be able to exist in the world, we're supposed to be like a human being, to be far away of equilibrium. Equilibrium is 2 systems where they match in them conditions. So our brain to be like independent system supposed to be far away of equilibrium with environment. And in medical language, that stable state, we call homeostasis. So homeostasis, this is the stable operating condition in the internal environment when the outside environment just change. We have 3 components where they interact to be able our brain to be in homeostasis state. We receive the stimulus from environment through receptors. For example, receptors may be the nervous ending in the skin or the bulb in our tongue. The next point during the regulation is to impulse what the receptor accepts from outside to transcend to the integrator state. Like integrator in our human being have a role our brain. Then the next step of regulation comes to the effector. Effector is our muscles or the glands, what we have in our human body. Then after the effector react to the impulse, starts to the response of all our human being to the impulse what we accept from outside. And that impulse what we accept have different kind of regulations from our integrator, what is our brain. Then we go to the next slide. The next slide is this representation for you that all our life is a feedback loop. So we get impulse, for example, banana, and we have several options to react. So we get impulse through our receptors, and then we transcend the impulse to integrator who analyze what we actually accept from a environment. Is this, on that case, banana, like a shape, like a color, like a smell, like a taste, like a touch, what we already know. So our brain just organize all that information for come through our sensor organs and then retranscend to the effector. Effector in sense of our muscles to take the banana, to taste the banana, and in sense of our glands to produce different kind of enzymes, hormones, and mediators to be able to digest that kind of matter. And then the response from all our bank, we like banana, we don't like banana, or we just throw out the banana. This is the response of our whole system. So actually we have several regulations in sense of the positive and negative feedback in our system. In the diagram below the chapter of the banana, we see two diagrams. This is representation for you how actually all the acceptance of the system and how our inner correlation homeostasis system starts to react to that impulse to be sure that keep our system far away of equilibrium. So from the beginning, we have just a little slow answer, and during the time, we close the sense and close the reaction from the body to the settled point. The settled point is our response and our reaction for our bank when our homeostasis in our system just settle and we are far away from equilibrium. Equilibrium for our human body means that we are alive and we are not dead. When we get the constant parameters like outside environment around us, it means that we are dead, like a physical body. How much we are far away from the parameter around us, it means that much we are in the state of living beings. And the right side, you see the diagram when our body is not able to settle the homeostasis inside of us. It means all the regulation system, they are not able to take over the impulse what we get from outside. And then we have two choices: to aggravation of the symptoms, or just to be blocked on the state of frozening. What all the two results, they are not healthy state. They produce some kind of symptoms inside of our body. Then we go to the next slide. The next slide is the representation for you how actually it's happened, that loop, the feedback loop. So we're supposed to have 4 elements in that loop. It is the receptor, this is the sensor organ, so how I told you, we have 5. Then we have a stimulus, the action that evoke the response from the receptor. And then we have effector organ, this is the organ that acts in the response. And then we have a response, the cause action of the effector. If you compare with more technical diagram, you see this is the completely similar what we use in the technical science when we construct, like say, the line of the current or some kind of machines where they follow each other, some more technical point of view. The same organization of the control system we have in our body. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation for you just to see again in a more technical view that we have negative feedbacks. We have dual negative feedbacks. It is the same like you do the coupling in the current line. And when you couple the cables one by one, or you couple just simultaneously, is like parallel lines. So the dual negative feedback, and we are able to have in different regulation, in different functional system in our body, combination between the positive and negative feedback, and only positive or only negative feedback or dual positive feedbacks. In the right side, this is a representation of the central hypothalamic control. And how you see, the thalamus, and you know, actually the thalamus is the main control organ inside of our brain, secretion of each hormones leading to regulation of all other glands and system inside of our brain. Actually, the regulation from thalamus to the end is a compilation of all that feedbacks. We have a positive feedbacks, we have a negative feedbacks, we have a dual negative feedbacks, positive and negative, dual positive. That's why actually to reach the homeostasis state in our human brain is a so complicated job, and everything is regulated in our brain. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is this example for you to understand what is the positive feedback and negative feedback in our body. Just simple examples. The left side is this representation of loop in endocrine system. So a regulation starts from our hypothalamus. This is the secretion of releasing hormone. They trigger the pituitary gland, and pituitary gland starts to produce the trophic hormones, where they belongs like a regulatory hormones to each one gland beyond the pituitary gland. Then from the peripheral glands, we have a negative feedback to the pituitary and to the thalamus directly. And also we have a short loop what is between the pituitary gland and the thalamus. In that sense, it is a representation that here in endocrine system we have the negative feedback control. On the right side, you see the positive feedback control. It is regulation of body temperature. What is happen actually? When you get a flu, for example, you just arise like a reaction of your body, the body temperature. That leads to triggering the temperature receptors where they are in your brain. Then your brain starts to inform other organs what they supposed to do to reach the homeostatic state in our body. So we have sweating, we have increasing the construction of the wall of skin capillaries, and we get a shivering. After that, we have the next level of regulation. We decrease the heat loss, we decrease the heat production and decrease the heat production just to be sure that we will manage the cold what we take it just to react with increasing the heat inside of us. And then this is the positive triggering the body temperature. So how you see, we have different regulation, even on the level of the organ, of the level of the functional system, between the functional systems and between the functional systems, all of them, and the main regulator organ, what is our brain. We go to the next slide. Actually, our nervous system, through the sensor organs and fields, accept the information from outside and then starts to react with our body and inform the other one regulator system what we have, that is the endocrine glands. Endocrine glands, they exist to make sure that the signal from the nervous system reach every cells in our body. So what is the meaning of gland? Gland is the organ in animal bodies that synthesize a substance such as hormones for release into the bloodstream. This is the endocrine glands, or into the cavities inside the body, or it is the outer surface. That is the explanation for the exocrine gland. On the left side, you see what is the meaning of exocrine glands. Exocrine glands include our sweat glands, salivary glands, mammary glands, cerebrum glands, lacrimal glands, sebaceum, and mucous glands. The liver and pancreas, they are both exocrine and endocrine glands. They have more complicated function. They are exocrine glands because they secrete by the way of the hepatic and pancreatic duct. They secrete hormones and enzymes for digestion system. Endocrine glands is the system what include the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the pancreas, this is endocrine pancreas, ovaries, testicles, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, hypothalamus, and adrenal glands. Isolated cells, clusters, have also secretion of the hormones. They belongs to the heart. This is inside of the atrial part, to gastrointestinal tract, to placenta, kidney, thymus, skin, and adipose tissue. So actually, endocrine glands, this is the refined system of control what receive the impulse from nervous system and retranscend through all the endocrine glands the impulse to exocrine glands, because finally exocrine glands supposed to secrete the next one level of regulation, which is mostly on place. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation for you the interaction between the regulation inside of the endocrine system. So we have autocrine interaction. This is when we secrete different kind of neurotransmitters of different kind of hormones, and they run in one place between the amount of cells with the same functions. When we have paracrine interaction, it is mean we have a messenger cell. One messenger cell go to the place and starts to interact with other cells on that place and carry inside hormones or neurotransmitter molecules just to retranscend the message from the nervous system or from the main endocrine gland. Endocrine coupling is when the gland secretes the messenger molecules inside of the bloodstream, and that messenger molecules, they reach target cells through the bloodstream. So it means that we have a messenger transport for a long distance to the bloodstream. Also, we are able to have a contact-dependent reaction when two cells interact with each other through the receptors. It is when we have coupling and messenger control and in the short distance between just two cells or 3 cells maximum. And we have neural messenger control. It's what is happening inside of our central nervous system. This is through the coupling between the target cell and neurotransmitter molecules in conjunction between the axon and the target cells. This is again not so long distance messenger regulation. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation of the shape of different exocrine glands. Regarding the place where the glands supposed to take a function, we have different shape of exocrine glands. Mostly they look like a tree. So they have a branches, they have a common duct. With that common duct ever have enter in some kind of superface. It can be epithelium, it can be skin or some cavity. So how you see, this is like explanation what you had in the previous workshop. That is the ductile system. And regarding how much of superface supposed to cover, that much different kind of alveoles have around, have the specific epithelium inside of the duct. It's again regarding where that exocrine glands exist, in which one functional system. And how you see, they are so similar to the shape again to the reaction. They have a positioning between different ducts and between different alveoles, which is so specific again for the functional system and on the place where exocrine glands supposed to work. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is internal view of exocrine gland. And how you see, we have like a head, a capillary vessel. This is the bloodstream. We take over or take in different kind of messengers molecules. We have a specific epithelium inside of the duct, and in the whole we have a liquid state what contains the ions and water. Again, you see that is the shape of the reactor. So that epithelium secrete different kind of hormones and messenger molecules. They collect inside of the duct, and then through the common duct goes out like a secretion state. For the exocrine gland, we have a tubule system, and like a head, we have a capillary vessel. For the endocrine gland, for example, you see that the capillary is round like a cycle, and inside of the capillary cycle, we have an amount of endocrine cells. So actually, in that sense, you have 4 enters of that reactor, if you may compare the shape again. And actually the transitional matter for you will be the bloodstream all around the cycle, and inside of that cycle you have the cells of the endocrine gland. On the bottom of that slide you see again different shape of the exocrine glands. This is again regarding where they exist and how you know the part of our body is so important, because in different part we take different kind of gases, we transform different kind of gases, we accept different kind of matter. So you know that the shape of the reactor is regarding the function of that reactor, what it's supposed to do. In the same way, the shape of the exocrine glands, they are regarding the same function. They're supposed to contain, or they're supposed to just to resent some kind of liquid state, and where they are in the digestive system, in the respiratory system, or inside of some organ. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is representation on the left side for you how much different kind of epithelium we have in our body. Epithelium, this is the superface where they cover all the holes, all the capillary vein vessels, lymphatic vessels, inside of our digestive system, inside of our respiratory system, inside of our mouth, inside of our nose. Everywhere we have different kind of epithelium. This is regarding again the function. And because of the shape of epithelium, we have a specific shape of exocrine glands. So mostly exocrine glands, they are somewhere in the middle of epithelium cells. And because of the shape of epithelium, we have different shapes of exocrine glands. So actually they take impulse from endocrine glands and resend the information to some superface, and that superface is supposed to react to the impulse from the nervous system or to retranscend the impulse from outside to the endocrine system and endocrine system to the nervous system. Secretion from the exocrine glands happen in three ways. Can be through the membrane of the cell of the gland, can be just separation of the half of the cell, or just like a destruction of all the cell. This is again depends of the shape of the molecules where they origin from that exocrine gland and what's supposed to do. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation that even we are able to have a single cell like an exocrine gland. For example, that is the gallbladder cells inside of the mucous membranes. We are able to have a more spiral shape of the ducts, and inside you see in the green, this is the way how the epithelium inside of the duct just make a shape. This is called the multi-cell, call it simple duct. For example, this is the sweat gland inside of our skin, or to have a shape like a sphere on the bottom and like a duct on the top. This is the multi-cell acinar simple duct, and mostly this is the subcutaneous gland, also in skin. On the right side, you see that we have also the bigger glands with the function of exocrine glands. This is our salivary glands. They are inside of our mouth, and they're supposed to secrete our saliva, and our saliva is so important of the beginning of the digestion, and also to make sure that we have the moist state inside of our mouth. Other one, exocrine gland, this is our mammary gland, what we spoke the previous time. This is also, you see the secretion in our mammary gland. This is when the half of the cell just take out with the secretion granules inside. Other one is the subcutaneous gland inside of the skin. That exocrine gland, cells inside of that exocrine glands, actually they destruct during them secretion. Okay, and we go to the next slide. The next slide is the representation for you for the biggest one organ what we have in our body. This is our skin. This is the biggest one organ what we have with a lot of functions. Actually, skin just separate us from environment. This is our shielding. This is the nano-layering epidermis with derma, with secretion of different kind of enzymes, hormones, pheromones, have the sweat glands, the seborrheic glands, the hair follicles, a lot of function have our skin. Also produce the moist superface beyond the epithelium. So actually have a specific shape, how you see in the middle of the slide, of the sweat gland and the supercut glands. And if you remember, this is the same shape like you have in the kidney. This is the shape of the glomerula. And on the right side, you see that organization inside of those two glands. This is the same like a glomerulus. You have a actinus. This is like a Bowman capsula. Then you have a mucal tubus, and then you have a collective duct, and then you have the end of the duct. And how you see, even the chemical reaction inside of that glands is the same like in the tubal structure of your glomerula. This is so high similarity between the organization of the sweat glands and the glomerule inside of our kidney. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is the representation of the pancreas. How I told you, this is the combined glands contain the endocrine and exocrine part. So on the right side, you see the small one picture where we have a cycle of the blood vessel, the bloodstream, and inside there are the cells of the endocrine pancreas. Actually, this is the smaller part, and the endocrine pancreas have a coupling of that units, amount of units what you see on the right top. Exocrine pancreas actually is again the tubular structure, and this is visible on the right side. You see, yeah, it is above that. You see like a tubular structure. This is the exocrine pancreas. Actually, in the middle, we have the endocrine part of our pancreas, and outside this is the tubular structure and exocrine pancreas. See, so beautiful combined gland with so many functions. And how you see the shape of the pancreas, this is like a leaf, and the slide after that you will see actually the each unit of all the endocrine glands, they have a shape like a leaf. Ever surrounding of the circulatory system, and inside amount of cells of that endocrine gland. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation just to see the similarity in function of all the exocrine glands. Actually, they take care about the ion transport in everywhere where they exist. So on the left side, you see this is the salivary gland. Again, we have the pumping system of potassium and sodium and carbonates and chlorine and generation of the hydrogen. On the right side, you see this is the exocrine pancreas tubus, and for 140 molecules of the bicarbonates, you take in 135 the chlorine inside of the lumen of the exocrine gland. And all the time, exocrine gland, they take care about the ion transport between the cells, or between the some membrane between the superface and lumen. So actually, when the endocrine glands retranscend information to exocrine glands. Exocrine glands take care about the environment where they exist to make sure that the signal reach each cells through that way. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is the representation of a regulation of exocrine glands. Actually, they get regulation through the messenger molecules from endocrine glands and from nervous system through the sympathicus and parasympathicus part. Actually, the sympathicus and parasympathicus part of the nervous system, they belong, how you remember, to the physical part of our brain. Actually, the exocrine glands, this is the part of the gland system, but they belong to the physical part. They react with the matter state and actually take care about the matter state, how the sympathicus and parasympathicus part of our nervous system, they take care about the physical part. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation how goes the impulse in two directions through the parasympathetic and sympathetic part of autonomic autochtonic nervous system. So, two parts, they start from the spinal cord. They have a pathway to reach the ganglion. In ganglion, we have the secretion of the transmitter molecules of acetylcholine and norepinephrine, and regarding which one organ they reach, that neurotransmitters just go through. Actually, the parasympathetic nervous system mostly slow down the process inside of some functional system, and sympathicus part just increase the action in functional system, and it is so correlated with the adrenal glands. In the bottom of the slide, I just give you some technical explanation just to see the similarity, how everything inside of our body is easy comparable with the simple things what we do in our daily life. For example, this is so simple current coupling what you have in your electricity system. So the same we have in our nervous system, in our regulations between the nervous system and endocrine system, or endocrine system and the organs which belongs to. Okay, then we go to the next slide. So the next part of our regulation, this is the endocrine system. This is the so big like amount of glands inside functions, regulations, system. It is really how to say, we have to take hours to explain everything so precisely. So that's why I just give you summary to have idea what actually contain our endocrine system. So main part of our endocrine system, the boss of our endocrine system is hypothalamus. When the hypothalamus receives the signal, starts to inform the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland contains two parts, anterior and posterior. And for these two parts, the pituitary gland has a secretion of different kind of hormones, and that different regulator hormones, they reach different peripheral endocrine glands. So in the periphery, we have thyroid glands, we have parathyroid glands, we have a thymus, we have the adrenal glands, ovaries, testicles, and cells where they behave like endocrine glands. So all that regulation is happen because of the secretion of different kind of regulation hormones increasing or decreasing the function of pituitary. On the same way, the pituitary release the increasing or decreasing the function hormones to the peripheral glands. They have a negative feedback, how you saw, to the pituitary or directly to hypothalamus, and pituitary has a negative feedback directly to hypothalamus. Actually, endocrine system belongs and is ruled from the emotional part of our brain, hypothalamus and thalamus. To comparison, exocrine is ruled from physical part of our brain. So actually here our brain, how we separate to physical and emotional, the next level of regulation, he split the glands to two parts, endocrine and exocrine, to make sure the next level of regulation is completely done. It's not mixed signal between the system. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is representation where the different kind of endocrine glands take shape in our body. So you see in our head is the thalamus system, then is pituitary gland, then in our next come the thyroid gland. In two sides of thyroid gland is our parathyroid glands. Then below is the thymus, here it's not presented. Then is adrenal glands, it's above the kidney. Pancreas, actually the place of pancreas is behind the stomach. Then we have ovaries and testicles. And how you see the shape, the unit inside of each endocrine gland, one unit what contain the cycle of bloodstream, and inside of that cycle the endocrine cells have a shape of a leaf, exactly like a leaf. And the right side is again comparison to be visible for you that endocrine glands, they produce the messenger molecules and they retranscend to the bloodstream, and bloodstream take care about the flow of that messenger molecules to reach different parts of our body. And exocrine glands, they just take care about the surface around them. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is different type of endocrine gland stimuli. So actually it is not only they stimulated from the pituitary gland, but we have a humoral stimulation too. This is regarding the amount of ions what they have inside of them or they take from the bloodstream. For example, the first you see the humoral stimulation inside of the thyroid gland, and of the thyroid gland we have the parathyroid gland. If we have the calcium level inside of the blood low, that amount of calcium level trigger the parathyroid gland to secrete the hormone, and that hormone to make sure that the level of calcium will increase inside of the blood. So that is the meaning of humoral stimulation. Also, we're able to have a neurostimulation. For example, when we get the impulse directly from spinal cord to the adrenal gland. If we see a lion, our eyes directly give the instruction to the thalamus to the spinal cord that we're supposed to react. And our adrenal gland starts to secrete the adrenaline. This is the hormone of stress. And all our brain starts to organize to the emergency situation to react immediately. So to have immediate response we're supposed to use the nervous system because the speed of the nervous signal is high. When we have middle response, we use our endocrine system with the bloodstream, with the messenger molecules, where they slowly through the bloodstream reach each cells to the effector organ. But if we want to react immediately, this is through our nervous system. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is representation how the thalamus rule the pituitary gland and actually have the direct control of the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland get regulation directly from the central nervous system because that gland supposed to organize our brain for suddenly for acute reaction, for survival. And also from pituitary gland. And pituitary gland, how you see, rule or other glands in periphery. On the right side, you see that the glands have different kind of shapes regarding where they are. Some of them, they are like sphere. This is, for example, ovaries and testicles. Some of them, they are, has a pyramidal structure. This is like our adrenal gland and our thyroid gland. This is like two kidney connected in between in the same shape like thalamus. Actually, when you see the similar shape of the glands or the part of our body, is mean that these two parts, they connect in their function or they interact in their function or they react in the similar stimuli from environment. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is representation, actually how goes the regulation through the spinal cord in the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, how impulse go through, and the spinal cord and all the plexus where they form through our body, how you know we have the spinal cord, and between all the vertebrae comes out the ganglions. From that ganglions we form the beginning of the nerves, and they actually have a plexus. And we have several plexuses during our body, actually where this is the, again, control point from the nervous signal. And from there, the nervous just split and reach each organ. Mostly on that plexuses in East medicine, this is the place of our chakras. And we start with the basic center. This is the plexus on the end of the spinal cord. And then we have the sacral plexus. This is the sacral chakra, sacral explanation about the back entrance of the second chakra. Then we have the celiac plexus. We have the solar plexus, heart center with the cardiac plexus. Everywhere where we have the plexuses, the combination of the nerves, it is representation of the center. And how you see in the middle of that slide that a regulation inside of the gland system, endocrine and exocrine, is multi-complex levels. It is actually not that simple. It's regarding what kind of stimuli will take inside of our body, which one system is supposed to react first. And how you see, and this is really so complicated, which one will inform other one and will cause the positive feedback or negative feedback or the double negative or the double positive or combination of them. It is like one chip inside of what the rule all the functions inside of our body, all the functions of the functional system, cells, everything. Really so complicated regulation, but so perfect, actually. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation a little different for you. It is like a representation of the left side of the slide is when you accept yourself like a soul, is like a self. And yourself actually contain your mind, your heart, and your body. And your soul, it is you. It is true you. But your mind, your heart area, and your body, this is the representation of yourself. So actually, you have three main centers. This is inside of your head, what contains your desires, your thoughts, and uses your heart when contains your love, your emotions, and your body center when contains your reactions. All of these three centers, they rule, each of them, they rule three more centers. And actually on that base, this is representation of the chakra system in our century. Two scientists just make that kind of theory, they make a comparison between the Sufism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Chinese medicine, and then explain in more scientific manner how actually form these centers, and they actually place through the old nervous plexus what we have during the spinal cord. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is representation, and you are familiar with that. I show you in the previous workshop how other two more scientists represent the emotional anatomy and the geometry of our consciousness. And regarding the previous slide, you see that our consciousness actually forms our shape of our body. And if you compare with the place of our glands, and they actually, the place of endocrinal glands, they're on the level of the each nervous plexus, and each nerval plexus regarding the energy anatomy is its representation of the chakra center. You see how everything is so close related, like our consciousness from our body, and the function of our material body also cause our consciousness. And we have one more representation and graduation of endocrinal glands from two other scientists that they represent our endocrine system with more different view, like testicles and ovaries, they are related with mercy. Adrenal glands, they are related with ruler of your life. Pancreas related with giver. Thymus related with exhorter. Thyroid related with teacher. Pituitary gland related with servant, and pineal gland and thalamus related with profit state. So actually, even in endocrine level, we are able to see representation with all the universal knowledge, and how we are able to compare the one cell function to the function of all nervous system, and all nervous system and endocrine system to the function of our consciousness. This is from my side. Thank you for attention. If you have the questions, please ask me. Thank you.
Very good, Elia. Thank you very much. What a complex system. We've only just scratched the surface of it, I realize.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, let's see. There was a question earlier. Let me just go back to it on the live stream. There's a question from Spas 128. Excuse me. Let me just make sure the question goes like this. There are people who cannot increase their body temperature during the flu or any sickness. Any explanation for that?
Yeah, this is regarding regulation of the thermocenters inside of the brain. They are some kind of people, even they are living with 35-degree daily temperature. It is because of the conditions inside of the brain, of the centers, of the thermocenter. There are two, and actually of the conditions inside of them, they get that kind of temperature. And if we compare with the plasma technology of Mr. Kesh, it is probably because they contain different kind of strength of gas inside. It's not common one what all of us we have. You understand?
Yes, thank you. That was good. What else do we have in here?
The temperature, if I can just add to the knowledge, and the temperature control and conversion and the heat is very much dependent on two things. One is salinity. Secondly, and totally in majority of cases, on the metal content in the blood system or metallic components of the blood system. When the metals are present in the limbs as a state of the GANS, energy plasmatic magnetic field, they are like elements in a teapot, in a cooking, boiling pot where you have a heating element. So they create additional heat, which in that environment they are absorbed by other metals or metallic elements within the structure of the plasma of the lymph or the blood. Which means as one element gives, the other element takes or is substituted by. So in the people with the lower temperature operation, you have totally different aura. And if you compare this with the aura of the normal people at 36 degrees or any other temperature, you will find out that it's very much connected to metallic components of their blood or their lymph. We see this in the operation because there are different kind of heat absorbed or radiated by the body in or in the presence of the given salt condition, salinity of the material in the body of the man. So the temperature, lower temperature, we see different kind of diseases. With a high temperature, we see different kind of diseases which are more common. Like cancers are mainly in certain type of temperatures, and one of the points which with the cancer especially we look into is the presence of the metals and semiconductors, semi-metals. These are the causes and the center points of the cancer. If you are a doctor and you are given a cancer condition, you have to look what is creating a stronger condition of a creation of a new element or new cell. And you find out in majority of the cases, one of the elements has a higher elevation than the rest. And then if you find where this element finds its support and changes the condition from a field to a gans, at that point you find lower or higher temperature. And then you operate through that to create a normal condition, and you find out the cancer disappears. These are part of the technology. Temperature control in different part of the body of the man is indication of the health or the operation of the body in respect to the salinity in the environment which the cell operates. As we said, we open the door of the knowledge in a deeper way. The people who've been around with us with cancer, they know we always ask for metal content within the blood and, if possible, within the lymph. In that case, for example, you have an iron or you have a copper, they create a different gravitational magnetic field, and each one creates different temperature and allows, in conjunction with the salinity, to create a different temperature. And then this temperature difference, if it's higher, it creates a solidification of the matter in that point and release of the absorption of the radiation which comes from thalamus, and the radiation which absorbed and radiated by thymus directly in conjunction with B12. The temperature of the body of the man indicates the health of the body in so many cases. That's why when you get angry, you get hot hands, warm hands. The stress creates a high temperature, and if that temperature, which is created using, in majority of cases, iron as a heating element in the blood, creates a high blood pressure, and that's why then it leads to other form of stroke and the rest. So low temperature bodies are important in a way that they dictate, in conjunction with thymus and the emotional part of thalamus, which comes as the radiation, what we call radiation, call it plasmatic, magnetical, gravitational, leads to diseases. And people with a lower temperature body have different diseases than the people with a higher temperature body. Carry on. Sorry about that.
Well, there was another question about glands send out hormones in matter form or in GANs form.
It is my opinion that all states of matter, they exist in one time. Do you understand? So the Gans state of something exists in the same time when the plasma state exists and the solid state exists. That is for me, if I'm able to say that, and be glad if Mr. Kesh explain also.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yes. Question is, glands send out hormones in matter form or in GANs form?
Everything in the body of man is in a gaseous state.
I knew you were going to say that.
So we're all getting educated. Everything in the body of the man is in the gaseous state, because you cannot have the mixture of two. Let me explain to you something. You try to chew a piece of metal, or let's say gold, and see how much of it will be absorbed by your body when it comes out. None of it. You reject it. A lot of people swallow their gold tooth filling, and it comes out exactly the same way as it went in. Because body, even we digest certain metals, we don't digest, we put it through our digestion system. Unless they are in a gaseous state or can be changed to a gaseous state in certain condition in the acidity of the stomach, they will not be absorbed, the energy will not be absorbed.
There's a second part to the question that might tie into that. It goes, and when is the information inside the body is on an energetic, magnetic, gravitational field basis? So
Pardon?
when is the information inside the body on an energetic, magnetic, gravitational field basis?
When is information?
Well, maybe it's. Yeah, I'm not really. I'm not. I'll read the question exactly the way it sits. It's right after the glands send out hormones in matter form or in GANs form, question mark. And when the information inside the body is on energetic, magnetic, gravitational field basis.
All the energies in the body are on gravitational magnetic field. We don't have rays.
I knew you were going to say that.
Would you like my job? You're getting good at it, so we are looking for teachers.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough job that you have. I don't think I'd want to go there. But teachers, maybe. But your job is multi-dimensional and requires many skills.
It's not a job. This is a privilege you are given to teach. You got to understand, once you start living in the direction of the mixture, you have a problem. But once you start looking and thinking in plasmatic condition, even you will understand and you consider even matter as a state of plasma, then there is no confusion. It's just like you are going with a, let's say 100 kilometers an hour or 50 kilometers an hour, or you stop in the traffic jam and you're crawling. It's the same entity at different speeds. The car is still the same car. The road is still the same. Slowly you learn what creates you the condition to be able to go, because it's a clear road, you're on a highway, and it's the same car. You're sitting in the traffic jam, you can't go anywhere. You're part of the structure, solidified with others in the same package. Then you see interaction and how it is and how you do. In trying to find out about the creation in one state, which is the plasma state which the whole universe is created on, then the rest is very easy. It's understanding and translating the knowledge. Dr. Elia is reaching that point very slowly, but I see a lot of deviation from it, but it's part of her teaching, part of that's why she's discipline in traditional medicine and in others. But there is something which I always say, people come to the foundation or come to us and they try to prove that they are correct in one little spot in a very, very small part of a technology, and because they think they are correct, they are cleverest thing on the earth. But in fact, when you look at the totality, the knowledge is worthless. When we understand what we know is nothing compared to the totality, then we can translate knowledge very easily. And this is part of the whole thing, translating and understanding. So you lot, slowly, a large number of people are reaching that point. And on the other hand, we try to explain that all of us slowly reach that point. That we look at the structure of the plasma, which part of that structure is a matter state. Then the rest becomes easy. When you ask a question from yourself, well, how come this material behaves like this? Look at the structure as a plasma. And then you understand why. Interaction between the fields, how does it interact with others? Part of the problem of the present science is that we have, even what I saw with Dr. Elia explaining today in the other sessions, we look at physical structures which she goes in detail, the shape of the pieces and parts. Ask yourself, what does this shape create? What condition it creates? What environment is created because of this sac or this shape in relation to the fields of entities inside it and in the environment of it and surrounding it? Then you understand how easy the knowledge can be translated. Then you will understand that even the structure of the soul is no different than the structure of the physicality, because it's of a different strength length. It's very much the physicality as 99 hertz, and soul is at 25. And because it's at 25, it cannot be seen at 99. But in fact, there is no difference between the structure of the soul, physicality of the soul, and the physicality of the entity itself. But this raises a question we keep on hearing, even the last part of the Dr. Elias teaching. It's a huge question. In the book number 9, I answered this, and this closes the whole question mark about the existence of the soul. If you understood that the soul, the physicality is 99 hertz, and then, for example, the soul is at 25 hertz, are the creatures which their physicality works at 25 that our soul becomes physical, tangible to them? Does this mean a process of reincarnation in understanding the process of RNA, that the physicality can be given to it at that level? Because the soul itself is not an energy pack which is going nowhere. It has a strength, it has a dimension, it has a line of communication through its field strength, gravitational and magnetical. So that field matches into somebody somewhere down the line. It depends if you can tune into it, then you hear the voice of the soul of the man. It cannot be any different. It cannot be any different than the whole process of the reduction in the field strength, or tuning to the right field, gravitational magnetical field, that you can see to become tangible or to become physical, or to become emotional, or to become the direction of the motion of a soul. Is the soul tangible? Not in the man's physical level, but because it's created from the gravitational magnetic field, is not something strange that is it's in the cloud. It's not as I call iCloud, Apple computer. We put everything in a cloud. Even in that cloud, there has to be a place where the information is stored and has a strength. But the question to ask again, are the creatures who operate physically at that strength, that the strength of the soul of the man become physical, virtual physicality in evidence and creation in that level? And then does this mean that in their interaction in that level, in the line of communication being of the strength of the physicality of the man, are able to teach the man in a physical level? So, do the soul of the man exist in a dimension of the physicality of another entity in the whole process of the creation of the universe? Yes, it does. Then, maybe those who look for the total answer of reincarnation realize reincarnation in the physical man, in the level of the strength of the amino acid of the man, at the same strength, is impossibilities. Dr. Elia explained about our glands and our 5 senses. This immediately brought to me that she has not understood the session 23. Because up to now, we have accepted we have 5 senses. But what we thought and we understood last week, in fact we have 6. The emotional senses which comes through the breast of the man. Man as a creator, as a totality, man and a woman. So, in fact, we have 6 senses. And that's our emotion. But we have been ignorant to it. Because we never considered it. We consider it as a feeling. And then this emotion is connected to the soul of the man. And then, if it's connected, it has to have, as we just taught in the Chinese session, a magnetic field gravitational connection between the soul and physicality, and the emotion and the physicality, and emotion and the physical and the soul. So it should be easy to understand that there are 6 senses in the world of the man, but we never understood. Now we understand. Then this brings, if there is 6 senses, the way you can measure the smell, the way you can measure taste, the way you can measure the sight, then can we measure the emotion? Of course we can. Because it's part of the senses. We didn't have the tools of the gravitational magnetic field system, now we have. Now we are developing it. And then, if you can measure the emotion, you can measure the connection between the emotion and the soul, then you can understand the strength of the soul of the man, and then, as I said, you have a vapor in the room. Till you don't create the condition of the cold from outside, you don't get vapor on the glass. Does the soul of the man in the strength, when he touches the cold, becomes physicality into the eye of the other being? And the answer is yes. Because it's part of the totality of the spectrum of the fields of the creation in the universe. And it cannot be no different. This is why we call it the soul of the solar system, and the soul of the galaxies, and the soul of the universe. Or the soul of the man. Because they all have different organs, different parts, which their interaction in information and residual information and gravitational magnetic field gives what you like to call the RNA. Glands are part of the structure of the brain. Because, I've explained this in detail before, because their operation in the position they are would have been too cumbersome for the brain to process, brain has created autonomous independent brain sections to look after operation in that section, that the traffic through the spinal cord is not that heavy. Part of the information is carried through the spinal cord, part of the information is carried through gravitational magnetic field plasma of the position in respect to the brain. If you look at the position of the practical physical position of different glands in different people, their distance, the position, the composition and the structure in respect to your thalamus, you will find exact people look the same, feel the same, and will get the same kind of disease in that position, in that organ. It is very much behavior connected. As a lot of you know, I very recently, we started launching of the Keshe Foundation in the Spaceship Institute. And as you know, we are going out to promote the institute. We offered to give an interview to Mike Harris, was done. And then there are other people which I gave some about 10 internet and other broadcasters which they interview us. We send a message, this is what we like to do, and they accept or they delayed. I received a message from Alan Sterling. That's because, you know, we gave a lot of interviews to Pizwiki. I received a message from him, yes, he can interview. And then when what the interview was, I received a confirmation in different heading than PSWiki. I made a question mark. Why this heading has changed? PSWiki is PSWiki. There is a lot of respect for it and the operation. And when Alan Sterling came online and I asked him why there is such a change, have you left PSWiki? He explained to me that I had such a problem. I explained in January and I said, Mr. Alan Sterling, or Sterling Alan, there is no way I will give you an interview, and any connection with you as a line of whatever is finished. We'll never give, Keshe Foundation will never give such any interview to you. Then I received an email from him trying to defend, which got it worse. In these communications, the line of thought and the behavior and the physical structure match into the portfolio which I have made in respect to the people's behavior, voice, and walk, and the society they create to show themselves. And that kind of structure follows the same thing in line of behavior, in line of position of the glands in different part of the body, in respect how to they operate and what is the outcome. Does not mean we approve or disapprove. We are not in such a position to approve or disapprove. But we decide if that kind of line of behavior fits into the structure that we are part of the society of. Then this is what happens. This is how your emotion connects to your physicality, if it's accepted or not. It's the same, every position, every gland, every shape of a gland. In the time being that the scientists start understanding more and more the connection between physicality and emotion part, they'll find out every shape, position and distance has a meaning. You move it, you change a different field, you end up with different things. It's very much like Armin. Armin recently did a test, one of the last tests in the Sensano. He made an infinity loop plate. There was nothing. Then he just put a piece of wire between the two tanks. And he started changing the environment, just one piece of wire. He changed the environment, he changed the condition. And we start seeing different processes in two tanks. Your glands are part of your brain structure. And as the same as your brain structure, each gland has a responsibility for physicality or emotional. And how much of the emotional, how much of physicality. And then because it's a replication of the process for that part of the body in the brain, it creates its own structure ratio. How much physical connection and how much emotional connection. And then it runs itself at that process. If there is too much soft tissue, there is more part of the emotional part in respect to ratios to the physicality. Even though the physicality has its own proportion, it's always bigger, but the ratio in that respect for that part is important. If you test the glands over the kidney, you will find out has a huge comparison in ratio part of the emotional part than the physical part, even though the physical part is much bigger, because kidneys are part of the emotional part of the body of the man, not the physical, but they use the physicality to make sure the emotional part through the blood system stays clean and clear for being available for transformation and transition and transportation of the emotional energy level to the body of the man, to the brain. Look at the physicality of the glands through the operation of physicality and the need for emotion from that physicality. look why and how each gland is structured, the position of the structure. And then, in a very simple way, doctors and people of the medicine will be able to pattern which diseases which follow, which what, at the point of birth, you can indicate without RNA or DNA how the body will respond, because this is part of the fixture and fitting. You cannot put a table between two benches when there is no gap. And two similar sized benches in the same room, never allow a table between it. You cannot park a car, what they call a Rolls Royce, in a space of what they call a Smart. And if you try to do, you create chaos. So the brain, through the emotional and the physical, creates that gap that it can fit a Rolls Royce. But if you get three, what do you call it, a Smarts in that space of four, then you create a new condition, a new disease. All diseases which have a connection to a gland have a common denominator. And if this understood, then you can literally reverse all the diseases in respect to that gland to where it could be. Always remember, glands are part of the brain, which have been put in a given position to take the pressure of the line of communication through the spinal cord. In fact, if we put all the glands together, and the amount of information which is dictated by the gland for the operation of certain given position or part of the body of the man, the spinal cord should be maybe 5 to 10 times bigger than what it is now, just to be able to carry the information to the brain. So instead of having a bigger spine and vertebra, the body has put subsidiary substations, what we call a gland. And depends if that part, that organ, or part of the operation, be it for a cell production, be it for cleaning up the blood, for being it for whatever, how much information it needs, how much information it will carry, and it sends a small report or a full package report. When it sends a full package report, then you have a complication and diseases. When it's a small package of, it's line by line, because the management is internal. You never report who was sacked, how much wages, who attended. At the end of the year, you send the total company made profit and how much to your main branch or to the company which owns you. That's all it is. Glands are substations, independent, to take pressure and information carriage to the brain. And you have to understand, if the spinal cord was much bigger, with the point where of the interaction comes between the physical part of the body and the emotional part, the information transfer would have been so much that the man would have lived a total epileptic life all his life, because the switches will be so much that you would have been shaking all your life. Because so much information was going through, for example, digestion of the food, for example, cleaning of the blood in the kidney. So you have independent control systems which are both emotional and physically dependent, and it depends what is the operation of that part or the whole structure of the man in respect to that gland, in respect to the main headquarters plan, which is the main brain. Interactions, structure of the soul. Because up to now, there is a gland in the inner sanctum of the body of the man which the scientists have not even looked at because they don't see it. And that gland is the line of communication between the soul of the man and the physicality, emotional part of the man. And what the scientists and the doctors tell us, it does nothing, it has no function. Because it has no function in a matter level, but it has a function in the soul and emotional level between each other. It's very much is like a beacon, which the man cannot hear, so there's no use to it, as it's something which is there. It sits within the environment of the emotional part of the body of the man, in the brain, and its only function is communication between the soul and physicality, and vice versa.
Can I ask you a short question, Mr. Kesh?
Yes?
The liquid of the eye has, as you told us and in your papers, a specific magnetical gravitational field strength. And is that specific gland which you're talking about in the emotional part of the brain connected to the, somehow connected to this magrav's field strength of the liquid of the eye? And my question, no. Okay.
No. Because I is for the translation of physicality.
Yes, but it's about the detectability. Like what we see is tuned to the magrav's.
Let me explain to you. The shape and the structure of the breast, nipples, the shape of it, the position of it, gives an insight to the emotion of the man and nothing else. The eyes are physicality, the ears are the same. As I said before, you cannot listen to the voice of a dog through your eyes, because it's not tuned for that job, it's not for that purpose. We see something is sudden us, but the field it has created is the field strength that the emotion can detect. But the eye is not a link for the emotion. We hear a voice, which we feel sad about that voice. The reason being, the field created is at the strength which can be absorbed or be detected or be is in tune with the magnetic field, gravitational field of the emotional part of the brain. It's very much as I explained earlier in the Chinese lesson. The interaction between gravitational magnetic fields of 2 plasmas or 4 plasmas gives a residual which is in the strength of the vibration plasmatic magnetic field of the electron within a bandwidth. And then you detect current, but in fact you had no electron movement. It's the same. Emotion has a specific gravitational magnetic field strength. And the emotional part of the brain is tuned to that magnetic field strength, magnetic gravitational plasmatic field strength. If it's out of tune, the soul cannot hear. Then that's a mayhem. The emotion carries the physicality, and physicality does whatever it likes. Murder, abuse, all the wrong things. Because then when the field strength comes to the strength that it can be received by the soul, then when the punishment starts. Then the punishment is your soul does not accept that. So what does it do? It returns back to what is not accepted. Then physicality has to live with it as a punishment. Let me explain to you something you understand. A man, I explain this in a very, very easy way. A man goes to a whorehouse and comes home very nicely to the wife, as nothing happened. The man loves the car he went to the whorehouse with. In a few times, in a few weeks, the car gets smashed up. How do you think it happened? What was the consequence of the punishment? That's why adultery is forbidden. Because it's you steal from someone you made an agreement with, which is your wife, your partner, your lover. It doesn't matter, male or female, homosexual, bisexual, whatever you call. You made an agreement, even an animal, which you have an animal and you go somewhere else with another animal. When you produce emotion, doesn't matter whatever it is, to satisfy the physicality, you create a field which is not at the field strength of what is being agreed and being adjusted between the emotion and the soul. As I said in my last talks, you send us a gift, we are friends, we don't need it, we send it back. So the emotion is sent back. Physicality has to do something with emotion. And then you call it the day of judgment. And then the guy loses his car in a freak accident. It's him who goes through to learn. He doesn't look, oh, I just had an accident today. No, darling, you betrayed your wife. This was the surplus energy which you stole, now is adjusted. It's you who's going to suffer the loss of that car, not the wife, because it was precious to you. You got to understand the process. Thou shalt not steal. And the biggest thief is a man from himself. I fall in love, but I explain to the one I love how I feel and the condition of my love. If it's accepted, that is set. Be it physical, or be it emotional, or be it at the soul level. The ones who betray, they pay their own punishment. The punishment is not receiving, not going to hell and going in the fire and being burned and punished. And in a way, when you take from your own soul, it's very much you become a steam on a glass at different temperatures, at different strength. Would you like to become a steam on the excrement of a dog, or would you like to be a steam on a beautiful glass which can shine the light of the God on it? You decide the position of your soul through your behavior. That comes through your emotion, and that comes in what you accepted. And that's why we say the world peace will come when men understand that they're all equal and there is no difference. They're all getting connected slowly, slowly. If you listen to the first sessions of the first health program, other teaching, then you see how the structure is building up. It's you who chooses the level of the soul which you leave behind. And what strength, and as we say, dogs with dogs, birds with birds, lions with the lions, and literally vultures with vultures. The process is as simple as simple. I fall in love. I commit myself to a condition. I offer love, but in a given condition. And if it's accepted, that's a set condition. That's the frequency which falls in. Anything above and below, you have to catch up with. Above, you contribute back to developing more of the same. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Well, there was a statement or question in the live stream. It says, so when the brain, the CPU, functions coherent or perfect, then perfect health is a logical result?
Depends what you put in the physicality. The problem is not so much the physicality to be healthy. It's so much the emotion to be at peace that it creates a balanced soul, a peaceful soul. We've seen around us people who support are very, very kind and very active, and they run around trying to do everything. And in fact, underneath they work for a clandestine activity or reasons, which we are not aware of. There are those, for example, who fall in love, but to get to the love, they choose a different ways to get to. And then what they do, because they have not gone the right way to be correct, they suffer by it. They cause their own suffering because they don't understand, they cannot, or they have to accept the condition of being loved and receiving love. Not what you do. Love is a state of emotion which is connected to the soul of the man. And the whole existence of the man is for the operation of the soul. In fact, you have to understand the purpose of being born. The man born from a mother to create a soul that in turn can become part of the structure of the totality of the creation of the universe. And in that level, you do not need physicality, because then you can operate in all dimensions of the creation. Any other question? There is a lot of soul searching, huh?
A lot of souls searching for questions. Yeah, I don't see any more in the live stream chat. Is there anybody on the Skype call that would like to say something now? Okay.
Have you noticed the further we're going in the, have you noticed the further we are going into these teachings of the health, the questions are getting less and less? It means two things: we're going too fast, or it means everybody's realizing how bad the situation is.
Well, I think they're a bit overwhelmed with all the information. There's a lot to take in, and so many different levels that it's pretty mind-blowing, as they say. Okay, I have a question regarding a source of attention. And is the soul the source of attention?
You mean soul needs to receive attention?
No, that it would be the source of attention.
Explain.
Well, it's been said, let's say, that if there's anything that we can call our own, it's our attention. is something we can control. We can concentrate our attention. We can expand our attention. We can narrow our attention and disperse our
But you gotta
attention and so
call,
on.
stop. You gotta explain what attention means. Attention means confirmation of existence. You want to confirm I exist. But for whom? At what level? Then carry on.
I guess I'm thinking more of not the attention on oneself, but the attention that one puts out into the universe, and where that comes from.
Again, just I explained. What is my need and what I need to be known by or with. When you give freely as a state of the soul, you are part of the music, all the same. If you are looking or giving attention or paying attention, it means you want to stand out to receive or to give, but at the same time to be observed who is giving and who is taking.
Okay, I'm trying to get more to a state of, say, pure objective observation that would be more like a pinpoint of attention, where there wouldn't be any attributes and personality attached to that viewpoint. It would be a pure attention. And I'm wondering if that attention comes from other than the physicality.
Not really. It's the way you look at it through the structure of the soul. The souls, as they have no need for physicality to maintain existence, they have no need for attention. So they don't create that condition.
Would there be a viewpoint?
What do you mean?
Would that soul, in that situation, would there be a viewpoint, or is the viewpoint everything all at once rather than from a individual point in the universe, in a sense? Because
it is very much at the same level according to the strength you are. This is why we set up, as we explained, and we will explain in the 21st meeting here in Italy. There are, for example, souls who have reached the level of what we call balance. And with it, they have transformed the physical part of their operation the same. We see calm, serene, very just people. The job of the prophet of God was to bring balance to the rest of the soul of the humanity, to reach to that level that there is no need to give attention or to receive attention. And somehow they all messed it up because they got more involved in physicality than actually what was given to them. Because their physical life has certain pleasures and they got involved in that and they lost everything. And with it, the human race went down the chute. And the religion became the cause of conflict than more what it was came to be the peace. Because one tried to get more attention in respect to the others. For example, You go to blessed name, be Christ or Moses. Both of them. Christ, bless his name, should have added to the knowledge to bringing balance between what he brought with the Jews and the rest. But what he created was a separation to get attention. And with it, it came all the problem which we see between the Jews and the Christians and the rest. And the same with the others. In getting attention in the soul level has been one of the hardest things to do for any race in the universe. Because the pleasures of physicality for a short time far exist the pleasures of the equality of the souls, that there is no need for attention. The same thing we see with the world leaders. They promise to become because they come with what they thought or what they said. And when they come to the point of power, everything is forgotten because now they become the center of attention. And the rest don't exist. That's why they extend the kingship, they go to parliament, they want to extend their presidential for another 2 terms that they could get more of attention to be called boss. So attention goes with intentions. And then the level of soul decides in what it is. That's why now we take the physicality term out of the structure of the life of the man into the level of the souls. And then we announce this one in 21st. Why and how the whole position has changed. Where physicality has no more say in the total bringing the soul of the man to a level that it brings peace to humanity. Intentions create attention, and attention creates that intention to get attention, and then doesn't matter what it is, the soul, the physicality, be it the rope of a man or be it the name of the messengers. And I always say, in my term, in my contract, there will be no mistakes of the past. Because if I make the same mistake, we'll be back to the same problem for the human race. And that will not happen. Even though we commit our souls as a man to the soul, and the souls of the Prophet of God to the souls of what we commit to. And we'll never mix the two. Because each one has its own level, and as long as you're clear with each, you can love at the level of the soul of the Prophet, you can love as the soul of the level of a man. And the two will never match, but the two can coexist in the proper way without interaction and stealing from one to another. This be the love of a child in one level, be the love of an animal, be the love of the universe, or the rest. And every man has the capability and ability to do the same. It's just that they have forgotten, and that's the job of what we do to bring man to that attention. Not only that you can have as much electricity, as much water you like, but the consequences of this is that you take the pressure of your soul. That your soul elevates to the equal to the soul of the peace and justice, with it come your physicality, and that's where we achieve the world peace. A lot of you are looking for world peace in the level of that everybody has everything. In fact, again, you've fallen short of your physical dimensions. When we can and we deliver the ability to be able to have satisfaction without intention of being, not needing. One of us is happy with a piece of bread and a glass of water, and some of us is not happy with a big piece of a steak and 10 bags of chips, for example. But when you both reach the point of satisfaction, your souls reaches the same. Then we find peace. All these physical developments which we are teaching through the foundation, and we increase it very rapidly more and more, is to bring peace to the physicality, that by it we can achieve peace between the emotion and the soul of the man, that we can elevate everyone to the same level, that we can achieve peace on this planet, that we can join the universal community. And all of you is looking for a little bit of energy and a little bit of water and a little bit of gold. And the demands are exactly the same by all 7 billion. Because you are never happy with what you have.
Mr. Kit, can I just inject one comment here?
Yes. Be careful it doesn't kill.
Would you say that this our state of being, of physical existence, is one of the most challenging in the whole unicos, as if the creator would have put a challenge in front of him and said, let's see how the human in a physical form would challenge his existence. I mean, this is sometimes the feeling that I have to detach myself from my own physicality in order not to observe or feel the suffering and everything else that comes with it.
You know, I always say a joke. Maybe it answers you. This is what you gotta have a sense of humor to understand it. I say, God. You know, we always say God is a man, and he's a bachelor. He's single. In fact, God has a partner. But the beauty of it is, what I say as a joke, but it has a lot of meaning if you understand. I said God created women, and he saw how much the man suffered, and he decided to stay a bachelor. He didn't create one for himself. In fact, we decide, and nobody else does, in our suffering, in what we want to take. It is our emotion which dictates what is suffering and what is a pleasure. And what is suffering to you is a pleasure to somebody else, even though it's of the same strength. God did not create anything to suffer. It's the physicality which decides how he can confirm his own existence to himself, and you call it suffering. And it's the same across the universe. Man is no exception. And throughout the universe, developing races and creatures, be it tangible or non-tangible, go through the same process, because that's part of the maturity. In Chinese, there is a say, it says, hardship makes you think, thinking makes you wise, and wisdom makes you rich. And that richness is at the level of the soul, not the physicality. Any other question?
We have a question from a Rick. It says, or maybe it's just Rick, question. How is the soul of a planet connected to the soul of a solar system?
How is the soul of your toe connected to your soul of your physicality? It's all part of the same. Sorry about that. The position is that as we have cells, oh God, it's going back again. As we have cells to make the totality, the structure of the man, we have planetary system that makes the structure of a galaxy and the universe. And as the totality of the cell makes a man with a soul, so does the planetary and galaxy system. It's the man who does not understand the total structure. There is no, as the working of an atom, a plasma of a neutron, is the same as the working of the plasma of the universe. So is the soul of the man and the soul of the universe. It's just that it's beyond the understanding of the man at this moment. As we say, the larger the roof, the more snow to plow. The bigger the structure, the bigger the soul, in different strength, but it's part of the totality. In the book number 9, called The Soul, I've explained a lot of things, but the man is not ready to listen, to understand. He's ready to listen, but he cannot comprehend.
Well, you keep teasing us about book number 9, and we still have to hear more about 5, 6, 7, and 8 as well. It's when do you think these
I don't have time.
books?
If you would have learned, if you would have learned very fast, then I had time to write. At the moment, in past 2 years, everything with writing has. But in a way, instead of writing now for a few people to read, now we teach in the masses, and the transcript of the teaching is the writing. This way is much easier to teach
It's a live
than
book.
getting as a live book. In a way, in the coming days, when the institute opens up as totality, there will be huge announcements in respect to the books. Maybe the conversation is here, we can explain. As you know, we had huge problem with delivery of the books because the distributor in Belgium was, in a way, forced to, or whatever they did, to block, to discredit, to start a criminal action against the Keshe Foundation. So we have found out, our security people informed us of the transition, books not getting delivered, and then they're finding out whether it was. Now the Keshe Foundation has brought the distribution of the books back under the umbrella of the foundation without outside distribution in Belgium. So from now on, there should be no delay in the books, and anybody who paid for the books and they reclaimed it back through PayPal or have not received it, this was as part of the scheme of the Belgian government to create another scam claim through courts. Now we found out how it's done. They put the fingerprint, so all the distribution of the books will be done through Italy directly from here. So we don't rely on Belgians to start another criminal action that is suited them. They block it and then they start the criminal action. And for this reason, I apologize. We did not see this. We trusted the people we worked with, and we have put it right. On the other hand, as the Keshe Foundation is becoming an international teaching organization, our books will be revalued now that we have got a lot of things back in distribution. What this means, once the institute goes, we revalue the prices of the books drastically. And secondly, instead of allowing people to go to download copy books in a criminal way, we stop the criminality ourselves. In the coming time, once the whole thing is set up, the Keshe Foundation University team will release the Keshe Foundation books on the donation basis from the Keshe Foundation website. We do not create the ground for you to do something wrong to damage your soul. Then if you do it, you know you can get it the way we have released it. We don't give you an excuse to commit something wrong to your soul. So in the coming time, you will find out in the coming weeks, or we try to do it prior to the opening of an institute. The prices will be revalued now that the foundation has other means of creating income for its work, that it can be affordable by everyone. And secondly, the books on the e-book condition will be released worldwide. That'll be the job of the Keshe Foundation team, that you can purchase the book on the donation basis. And we put, as usual, our donation base of minimum. Then if you go and steal or download a free copy, then you have to pay very heavy for it. Then you will understand. The punishment comes in a very simple way. You read the book, but you will not get the essence. As I always say, you can dress a monkey, but you never become a man. You can give it a handbag and a beautiful golden pair of shoes, but still walk like a monkey. So you'll never get the essence. That's at least we put our side right, that you do not commit a crime for your soul. And any books which has not been delivered, we are going through it thoroughly. We are posting it. Some 30, 40 books have been sent out, which has been withdrawn by the Belgians. And at the same time, this allows us to immediately release all the translated books into the hand of the people who want to read in their own languages. And so, as you know, there is a plan by the Belgian government, and they have managed to do it with the Germans and the Dutch, to sue Belgian Cash Foundation for not delivering the books where the Belgians stole the book themselves in the post office and DHL. So it's very easy. This is the way they operated. And if this new fraud case they set up against us goes ahead, we open all the books internationally. We have no problem. And I do apologize. We should have seen this much earlier, but we start seeing a lot of things not getting delivered and a lot of claims. And we were told by the delivery organization that they have found out and they pay for it themselves. And then we found out the only thing they got paid was by the Belgian authorities blocking the deliveries, or them not sending by the instruction of the Belgians. And I do apologize. As a head of the foundation, I should have seen this, but we trusted everything was going through. And if there are any books missing, or people who bought books and did not receive and went back to the PayPal to claim their money back, I do apologize. This is not something which we trusted, again, Belgians, and we were let down by them. And that's unfortunate for us. But we foresaw this situation. It might happen that we cannot deliver books. About 2 years ago, we shipped several thousands of books in an unknown destination for backup, in case we have such a problem, and improve our thought was correct. And now we have called upon those books, which is in Italy, kept in reserve, to be distributed now that we have found out such a scam has been set up by the Belgian government. And again, I apologize for those who went through the process of reclaiming. This had nothing to do with us as far as we are concerned. The goods were getting delivered, the books were getting delivered, but in fact, we were told, we've been sent bills, we paid for it, we paid for the bills which have never been delivered. So the fraud is against within the structure of the Belgium. They tried this with the post office. We have about a few hundred books sitting in the main post office of Belgium, which was never delivered to discredit us. Now they use the same system, trying to set up another scam condition for fraud and deception. And now we have found out how they've done it. We are going public with it today, and you understand. And a large number of books which we realize hasn't been done deliberately against since December have been dispatched this week and next week from Italy, because we kept a reserve for this job. We have distributed books and other things around the world to overcome any blockage by any government. And now we brought into operation people who have not received their books. Within the next 7 to 14 days, whatever we received and we see is correct, we deliver to Italy. Any other question?
We seem to be nearing the end of the workshop here, I think, but
very much. We have to sorry about that. We have to reassess the Spanish teaching and the Chilean teaching, because the Loom University closes around about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So we have to reassess the timing of the Spanish teaching. I cannot ask a few tens of students to leave the thing and we have the session outside. We're trying to reorganize. Now we are here, we see the problem. And by the way, if it's for you as a piece of information, all the teaching today was done from the institute in Trani. So we are officially here, and all our teaching today is done from actually the laboratory in the institute. It's the first time we are here full time.
That's great. Are you going to be able to broadcast the Spanish full right through till 7 o'clock today? It starts at 6
We'll
and goes
wait.
till 7.
We'll wait till they ask us to leave, and then we curtail it. Let me explain something else while we are at it here, because we have a time to do it. We have made an open invitation worldwide. Anyone who likes to be at the opening of an institute on 21st, which belongs to the institute, and 23rd, which is the inauguration between the Keshe Foundation and Lund University, the opening sessions are open to public because it's yours, and you're welcome to come. We know a number of people are traveling from around the world to be here. You're all welcome. This is your home. And we try to allow as many as possible to be present in all the presentations and discussions. Do you want to wind it up?
Any other announcements, or is that good for now?
Oh, that's good for now. I'm getting old and forgetful, so what I remember, I tell.
That's great.
Don't forget, we arrived. We arrived about, actually we arrived very late, about 1 o'clock last night, 12 o'clock, and by the time we managed to undo everything, we finished at about 2 o'clock, and since 6:30 we are on the road trying to do other things, that everything is ready for opening time and the teaching. There's a lot of effort is going in the background in getting things done. Other thing is, in the coming days, we will post a telephone number on the website of the Institute for those who are accepted to organize the accommodation directly. We've been given access to 50 up to 100 apartments around Trani by landlords or different landlords, which we're trying to find a common telephone number, English speaking, that can organize for you to be able to reserve your apartment or whatever directly before you take flight to come in. That you know exactly where you're going. And same time, we will announce a hotel accommodation on the website soon for those who are coming to be in Tirani or in Bari. We try to do a package room cost for everyone in the next couple of days or so. It'll be posted on the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute.
Okay, that seems to wrap it up then. Thank you very much,
Indeed.
Mr. Keshe, and thank you to
We'll
Elia
see you
as
in
well.
27 minutes.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
have enough time for probably a 15-minute nap. You're back to work again.
Thank you indeed. Speak later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And that wraps up the 24th Health Teaching Workshop. Thank you, everybody, for attending.